Puragrikanya ganago trigoloruharam Goranga gurachama gopyada kolpa briksham Gopala gada ratidam Yati singha gora govinda deshi kavaram Satatam namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachia Dile Kakola Kahe Premananda Hemona Goranga Hridoya Dadiya Bola Bhaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangira Namure Jai Jana Goranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema-bhakti-candrika Parama-pumata Tasmai Jagan-mangala-mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavir-api Gopala Srikuryat Kripaya Jadi Tadaiva Sampaya Pitvaha Rishayusta Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathabda Brajabala Bapahimam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyahevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nice to see everybody here today. Going to be a short session. I'm going to finish within 30 minutes from now because that's how much time we've got. Let's see. Shri Krishna Namamrita Varshi Vakta Chandra Prabhadvasta Tamo Baraya Gauranga Deva Anucharaya Namo Namah Shila Narotamaya. Again and again I offer my obeisances unto Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He is indeed a true follower of Lord Gauranga Dev. The nectarian shower of the holy name radiating from the moon of his mouth destroys the darkness of ignorance. So in our last session, we were continuing our reading from Prema-bhakti-candrika from the 7th section, which is called Ekantika Bhakta Riti, the characteristics of an unalloyed devotee. In our last session, we spoke something about medicine for sense enjoyment. Let's look at that verse again. Vishaya Garala Moya Tahe Manasuka Chai Sena Sukha Dukkha Koriman Govinda Vishaya Ras Shanga Koro Tanra Das Prema Bhakti Satya Kori Jan. Material enjoyments are full of poison, but you consider them pleasing. Don't think of them as a source of happiness, but understand them as distress. Be absorbed in full thought of Govinda, associate with his devotees, and conclude that loving devotional service is the goal of life. So today, We're going to go on one or maybe two verses. I think probably just one verse, but these two verses go well together, but I don't think we're going to have time to do both. So this is text number 5 in the 7th section, or text number 83 if you're counting in that system. Madhye madhye ache dushta drishti kori hoya rushta guna ke viguna kori mani Govinda vimukha jane spurti nahe hena dhane lokika koriya sabajane. Sometimes mischievous people become angry by seeing the dealings of devotees. They accept the good qualities devotees have as bad qualities. The wealth of loving devotional service does not manifest in the hearts of those who are averse to Govinda because they consider this wealth is mundane. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur comments there are many miscreants who are averse to Sri Krishna. They become very angry by seeing the loving dealings of the devotees. They consider dancing, chanting, laughing, and crying of devotees, which are born from ecstatic love, as madness or fault. Gora Draganya Gana Gocha Goloruharam Goranga Gura Tamagopyara Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami. So Narottam Thakur is continuing to speak about the characteristics of an unalloyed devotee. And interesting subject matter in front of us. Just last night, we gave a talk here to a small group of their community, very nice group of about, I don't know, 20, 25 persons came, some of them very new. And we spoke about loving dealings. And afterwards, two of them were asking me the same question. What about your friendships and family members, your friendships with people who were not, and they're not devotees, but you were friends with them before you were a devotee? And so I was suggesting that this is a bit of a perplexing thing in some ways. How is it that we say that someone joins the Hare Krishna movement and you're going to find God and you're going to see everyone equally, just as a Pandita Samadarshana sees everybody equally, but you hate your parents now, and you hate all the people in the world who are not devotees, and you can't associate with them whatsoever. That really doesn't make very much sense. But we have to be very careful in our association, and that's one of the qualities of a Madhyamadikari. They're very particular who they associate with because that association affects us. I'd like to share with you a song. This is by a medieval Gaudiya poet. His name was Sri Gopal. He was also known as Ram Gopal. He was living in the mid 1600s. He wrote a book called Rasa Kalpavali, and he was from Srikhanda, West Bengal. Many Gaudiya Vaishnavas there. And his guru was a descendant of Raghunandan Thakur. You may have heard about Raghunandan Thakur. Gopal Das is considered to be, widely considered to be one of the best poets in Brajbuli literature. So let's look at the song that he wrote about associations. A very beautiful song. Tejamana Hari Vimukhanki Sangha Yaka Sangahi Kumati Upajatahi Bhajanaki Padata Vibhanga. So my dear heart, Hari Vimukhanki Sangha, those persons who are Vimukha, who don't appreciate Lord Hari, stay away from their association. If you associate with such persons, yakasangahi kumati upajatahi, then you're going to get wicked thoughts and you're going to break your devotion to the Lord into pieces. Satata asata padaleo yoyayata upajata kamani sangha samana duta para mayu parikata durasani nehara iranga. Such association, satata asata pada, it'll take you away from the pada, the proper path. Upajata kamani sangha, it'll give you association with lusty women, and it'll make the Yamadutas very happy as they're watching. Good we have somebody that we can torture because they get some pleasure from that. Sometimes devotees, I think their ultimate goal is to become Yamadutas, some devotees. Ataye sahari nam sada paramamadu pana koro chadi bhanga hari charana saro ruhe mati rahun gopala das mana bringa. Therefore, we should always taste the sweet honey of Lord Hari's holy names. Well, now he's speaking about association. Why, with devotees and non-devotees, why is he bringing up this? In Jagadananda Pandit's Prema Vivarta, there's a nice verse, Sadhu Sangha Krishna Nam E Matra Chai, that all that I desire is association with devotees and chanting the holy name, because the two go hand in hand. If you're chanting the holy names, then you're going to meet devotees because they love chanting. And if you're associating with devotees, then you're naturally going to chant the holy name. So, and if you're chanting the holy name, the non-devotees, they'll stay away. So he says that Gopal Das, Manabringa, his mind has become like a bumblebee, which is tasting the nectar at the honey, the lotus feet of Lord Hari. So association is such a very, very important subject. Narottam Das Thakur speaks about it in quite a few places in Prema-bhakti-candrika. Bhaktivinoda also comments on this, and all of our acharyas in different places. In some of his commentary on Upadeshamrita, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that he questions what is asat sangha and what does it mean to give it up. Asat sangha means sat means something good, asat means something bad. So asat sangha tyag, we should give up asat sangha. But what does that mean? And he says it's reflected differently by renunciates and by householders. Renunciates, they just go to the forest or they just stay away from those kind of people. But householders, they have to go to work. They have to go to the university. They're studying. They're interacting with people in the material world. And they can't just go and just say, I'm not going to look at you. You didn't put your tilak on today. It doesn't work like that, obviously. Not only do they have to look at them, but they have to be friendly with them. Otherwise, they won't be able to keep their job. They won't be able to do well in school. But Bhaktivinoda says that's not real association. Real association takes place in the mind and the heart. Just for example, when we make a friend with somebody, we see someone who has similar likes to us. We see someone, if you're a punk rocker and you're dressed however punk rockers do, and you see someone dressed the same kind of way, and you hear them playing music, and it's your favorite band, and that you think, man, this guy, this may be my best friend, because we're looking for similarities. So we want to look for devotee association. We want to look for good devotee association. And we have to neglect bad association. Srila Prabhupada comments on this in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 1, text 218. And he says this bad association, which should be neglected, includes devotees. Prabhupada says, a mundane person in the dress of a Vaishnava should not be respected, but rejected. This is enjoined in the Shastra, upeksha. The word upeksha means neglect. One should neglect an envious person. A preacher's duty is to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, make friendships with Vaishnavas, show mercy to the innocent, and reject or neglect those who are envious or jealous. And Prabhupada says, there are many jealous persons in the dress of Vaishnavas in this Krishna consciousness movement, and they should be completely neglected. So Srila Prabhupada here also, he's speaking from his own personal experience with many of his god brothers and other Vaishnavas who didn't appreciate him and didn't support him. So we have to be very, very careful and avoid that kind of association. Association is a very subtle thing. When we start associating with people, we want to naturally please them. And so we go along with what they're accepting. If I remember giving a class in Toulouse, France, in South France, we were giving every day. And there were a number of different devotees coming from different sanghas. There was some Gaudiya Math devotees coming. There were some ISKCON devotees coming, and there were different ISKCON devotees coming. And there was one devotee, Prabhupada disciple, who was coming, and he would come to give you a big hug, and you could kind of smell something on him. And devotees later told me that he's not devotee, he likes to chant, but he also likes to drink alcohol and smoke marijuana in particular. And so at one point, speaking about community, I suggested to the devotees that you should associate with like-minded devotees. And if you're interested in smoking and drinking, then associate with devotees who like to smoke and drink. That's better than associating with non-devotees who like to smoke and drink. I said, I don't know how often I'll come to visit you, but that better to associate like that. So in the Mahabharata, there's a description given about different what is good and what is bad association and the effects of each. So this takes place after the Pancha Pandavas had been defeated at dice, and Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana and his brothers had harassed him like anything. And so they left Hastinapur and set out in a northerly direction. When they heard that the Pandavas were leaving, all the pious people of Hastinapur who couldn't bear separation from them, they ran after them. They didn't want to live in a kingdom where Duryodhana and all these rascal people were ruling. So they requested the Pandavas, please, said, all glories to you. Where are you going? You're going to break our heart. We're feeling very, very disturbed how your cruel enemies, they've done such deceit and taken your kingdom away. It's not right. And it's not, but at the same time, it's not good for you to leave us. We're your loving subjects. And we don't want to live in a kingdom of a bad king. And so then they began to preach to Yudhishthira Maharaj and the Pancha-Pandavas. And there's a few beautiful verses that they spoke. So let's look at those verses. Apo vastram chilan bhumim kando vasayate yata pushpanam adivasena tatta samsarga jagunaha. Tila means sesame seeds, and vastra means cloth. Apo means water. So just like if you take water, sesame seeds, and earth, all of those things, ganda vasayate yata, they develop a quality of fragrance according to how they associate. They associate with flowers, then they take on the fragrance of flowers. And so in the same way, adivasana tata samsarga jagunaha. Our personal qualities are born from our association. So it's a very, very important principle in bhakti. And they go on to tell Yudhishthira Maharaj, Moha jalasya yonir hi mudhayar eva samagamaha ahanyahani dharmasya yoni sadhu samagamaha. That to become bewildered, moha jalasya, become bound up in this illusion of Maya. This happens mudir eva samagamaha, when you associate with persons who are mudha, who are fools. But ahanyahani dharma shayoni sadhu samagama, if you associate with sadhus every day, it produces virtue. My Guru Maharaj was once asked a question because he stressed many times that we should hear directly from the lips of a sadhu and have such physical association. So once he was asked, what do you do if you don't have that association? And Guru Maharaj said, then in that case, you should read the books, you should listen to recordings, and some association is there. So we can daily associate with Srila Prabhupada or other different great saintly persons by hearing their lectures, by reading their books and things. It's not the same thing. At the same time, as I pointed out in this article from the Lips, what if Srila Prabhupada, we're staying in the top floor of the temple here in Riga right now. This is the sannyasi quarters. They're called the Guru quarters. And what if all of a sudden some brahmachari comes running upstairs and says, Madhavananda, oh my God, I don't know how it's possible, but Srila Prabhupada just walked into the temple room and he's giving class now. And I were to tell him, anyway, I don't need to go to hear from Prabhupada. He's none different from his teachings. I'm reading his books right now, or I'm watching a video of him. That's the same thing. Only a fool would think like that. Obviously, it's not the same thing. You'd want to run downstairs and get Srila Prabhupada's association. So if we don't have anything else, we can associate with the books and that. But we pray to Srila Prabhupada in the form of his deity. We pray to Prabhupada in the form of his books. So please give me association with some exalted personality and let me stay away from bad association. So they go on to tell Yudhishthira Maharaj, Tasmat prangais chikvidaischa sudha bhavais taposvabi sadbircha sadbischa sahasamsarga karyo dharma parayanai. So those persons who tasmat prangais, who have some desire for something higher, for something spiritual, they should associate with persons who are Brida, who are elderly, they have some wisdom, who are Sudha, who are pure, who are honest, who are tapasvibi, they're by nature, they're detached from this material world. Sabbishcha samsarga karyo dharma parayana, and who are dharma parayana. So, so many devotees go out to preach. We want to meet good people, but we're not meeting such persons. So we want to associate with persons who are worshipful, who are wise, honest, pure at heart, and detached. And they go on to tell Yudhishthira Maharaj, Yesham trinyavadatani vidya yonis chakarma cha te sevyastai samasyahi shastre bhyo pi gariyasi. That if we can serve such people who have superior vidya, superior knowledge to us, or yonis cha, karma cha, they have second initiation, and their behavior is very, very good. That's a very, very important thing. It's a very, very helpful thing. So the residents of Hastinapur were telling the Pandavas, look, you can't just leave us with this rascal Duryodhana who's so bad. And you Pandavas are so very saintly. What are we going to do without your association? Niraramba hyapi bayam punya sileshu sadhusu punyam evap nuhayam evap nuyameha papam papa pasevanat. So they said that we don't have any punya. We don't have we're devoid of any religious acts. So we're going to gain merit by association with righteous people. In the same way, someone gets sin by associating with sinful people. The temple here in Riga is really nice. It's right on the street, one of the busiest streets in Riga and downtown. And they have a bus stand right across the street from the temple. And when you're standing there, you can see Srila Prabhupada in the temple room. You can see Gaura Nitai. You can watch the kirtans. And there's a beautiful restaurant right there, which they have, I don't know, hundreds of people coming in and out every day. It's such a very nice thing. So they're getting some benefit. And Srila Prabhupada said, this is a purpose of our movement. We want to give people an opportunity to associate with saintly devotees, and we want to give ourselves an opportunity to associate with saintly devotees. Asatam darshanat sparshat, sanjalpach cha sahasanat, dharmachara prahiyaste na cha siddhanti manavaha. that if one sees darshanat, sparshat, if they touch sanjalpach, they have some interaction with persons who are sinful, then we lose siddhanti mana, but we lose our purity of mind that we may have. Buddhist chahiyate pumsam nichai saha samagamat madhyamay madhyatam yati shreshatam yati chotamai. So if we associate with people who are very low class, who don't, they're not very thoughtful, they're just mechanical, maybe they seem like they're religious, but they have angry, low kind of consciousness, then that'll also make our consciousness very low and angry. So we have to be very, very careful who we associate with. It's a very, very important thing. There's a beautiful story. Ages ago, there were several kings. There was one king who was very righteous, but that righteous king, he wasn't such a big person. He had a small kingdom. And there was a wicked king who had a big kingdom. And people were glorifying the virtuous king, but he was less powerful. He had a smaller kingdom. So that wicked king became very envious. Why they're glorifying him? His kingdom is smaller. He's not as powerful as me. So he attacked him out of envy, defeated him, and occupied his kingdom. And so his citizens became even more disturbed with this. And they began to glorify the virtuous king even more. So that wicked king became so agitated by that, this envy which is burning in him, that he made a proclamation that anyone who will bring me the severed head, anybody will cut off the head of this king, this righteous king, I'll give them 100,000 gold coins. And so when the righteous king heard about this, he thought, oh, maybe it's a good time for me to leave. And he went into the forest and he disguised himself like a sadhu. He grew a beard and mustache and had matted locks of hair. So one day there was a Brahmin whose daughter was getting ready to get married, and he had to find some money. So he decided he'll go look for this king, this righteous king. And going into the forest there, he ran into him, but he looked like a sadhu. And so he told this sadhu, he said, I'm trying to find this king. Have you seen this righteous king? And that sadhu, who was actually the king himself, told him, he said, Brahman, why are you looking for this unfortunate king, looking for some money? Now he's just become a beggar. He's given up his kingdom. How can he give you any money? And so the Brahmin said, now I know who you are. You're that king, actually. So it's my good fortune to get your association. So you please give me your ashirvad. So because that will satisfy all my desires. And he wasn't thinking about getting money or what to speak of cutting off his head. So then that king who was disguised consoled him and told him, you come with me. And he took him to the court of the wicked king. And he came before that wicked king dressed like a sadhu. And he said, Maharaj, you have announced that whoever would bring the severed head of the king would get 100,000 gold coins. I'm that king. So you should chop off my head and give 100,000 coins to this Brahmin here because he needs money to get his daughter married. When that wicked king saw the virtue and the kindness of this righteous king, he became speechless. And he had a complete change of heart by his association, just lava matra sadhu sangha. He went down on his knees and he begged him, please forgive me. I've been so very, very bad. And he gave him his kingdom back. And then they had a tie of friendship after that. So this bad association will give us that kind of association, will give us those kind of qualities, whereas good association will give us good qualities. There's another story that on one occasion, Narad Muni went to Vaikuntha and he asked Lord Narayan, please tell me, what is the power of association with sadhus? And Lord Vishnu smiled and told him, he said, Narada, you go to certain forests on the earth and you'll find a banyan tree And in the left branch is a nest of a parrot. And in that nest is going to be a newly born baby parrot. You ask that baby bird the same question, and it'll give you the answer. So Narad Muni went there. Just as he reached the nest, an egg hatched, and a little tiny baby parrot came out. So Narad Muni, following the Lord's order, approached the baby bird and said, "Please tell me what's the effect of sadhu sangha." The moment that Narad Muni spoke that baby bird fell over dead. Narad Muni was really shocked. He went back to tell Lord Vishnu what had happened. And Lord Vishnu, he smiled again and he told him, he said, "You go to a certain village where a cow is giving birth to a calf, ask the calf and get your answer." So Narad Muni went back again. He asked the question. As soon as he asked the question, the calf fell down dead. So, my God, what is this? Huh? And he went back to Lord Vishnu again. And Lord Vishnu this time told him that you should go again. A baby's just been born to the king of Kashi. And you go and ask that baby your question. And Narad Muni, all the blood drained from his face. He said, "No, no, no, no. This is really bad. Everybody I go and ask this question to, they all fall over dead." And Lord Vishnu smiled at him and said, "No, no. This time you'll get the answer to your question." So Narad Muni was a little reluctant, but he went there. And sure enough, the baby had just been born. So Narad Muni went up there and very softly he said, "My dear baby, please tell me what's the result of associating with devotees." And then that tiny newborn baby suddenly began to speak like an adult. And he said, "You haven't understood so far?" He said, "I was the baby bird that you questioned in the banyan tree. And because of your association, I got released from that body immediately. And then I took birth as a calf. And then again, you came, and by that short association with you, I took birth now as a son of a king." Right? So this is the power of sadhu sangha. And alternatively, this is the power of asat sangha. So we had to be very careful, as we were suggesting to some of the people who were speaking with me last night. It's a paradox that we come to Krishna consciousness, we come to God consciousness, and vidya vinaya sampani brahmani gavihasani suni chaiva sapakecha pandita samadarshan. Now we see everyone equally, but I hate my family. I don't go to see them anymore. I hate everybody who's not a devotee. I don't associate with anyone who's not a devotee. That's people will naturally question. We may rightly question. Huh? So we don't want to associate with such persons, but association is not just something physical, but association is something which takes place in the heart and the mind, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here. We've got almost 2 minutes left. If anybody has a quick question, we can go ahead to that. Otherwise, I'll start another session after this. We can continue with discussion. Does anybody have anything? Okay. Bhakti Prabina.
Another question, Prabhu, but just appreciation. Thank you for this wonderful katha. And yes, it's very important for us to understand that we associate with the heart and the mind primarily and secondarily physically.
Prabhupada also writes, he says it's very important we should want association with Uttama Adhikaris. He said if we don't associate with the Uttama Adhikari, how will we make advancement? And many people, they like to be comfortable. If I go and associate with an elevated devotee, he may tell me something harsh. So we sometimes avoid that association, but that's not good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop. It's going to turn off any moment now. Let us know if anybody has any comments or questions in probably in our WhatsApp group, and we'll continue if there's some need. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and stop because I'm giving class tomorrow morning.